Hello again for another exciting episode of Bad Dad by David Walliams. Now, if you remember, and it was a while ago now, everybody's at Mr. Big's big house, and the loot, the money, is being put into the safe. And Frank happens to say that Dad's share doesn't seem to be very fair. Mr. Big takes exception to that and calls Frank a cockroach. Ooh. All eyes in Mr. Big's study were on Frank. This little wretch in a dirty old pair of pyjamas had dared to speak to the crime boss. "My dad drove the getaway car," Frank said. "You would never have got away with the robbery if it wasn't without him. He deserves a share of the loot." Mr. Big started laughing. Then Fingers started laughing. Then Thumbs started laughing. Finally, even the unsmiling Chang made a noise that sounded a little like a laugh. Ha, ha, ha. Ronnie and Reggie purred. "What's so funny?" demanded the boy. "What's so funny?" began Mr. Big. "Is it your daddy owes me money." A worried look swept across Dad's face. "But, Mr. Big, that's not what we agreed. You promised tonight would clear all of my debts." Mr. Big waddled over from behind his desk until he came nose to nose with Dad. The crime boss stared deep into the man's eyes and blew a plume of smoke from his cigar into his face. This made Dad cough and splutter. "One night," began Mr. Big. "One night's work. Don't make me laugh. You seem to have forgotten. You borrowed a huge amount of money from me." "It was only £500, pleaded Dad. "Only £500? I needed it to buy a birthday present for my boy." "My race set," said the boy. "Yes." "But Dad, you didn't need to buy that for me. I would have done without." "Please be quiet, mate." "But you didn't pay the money back, did you?" "No, he didn't." "No, he didn't," repeated Mr. Big. I tried. I swear I did. I tried and tried to get my old job back, banger racing, but they wouldn't let me drive again." "You owe me, Gilbert Guddy, with interest, £500 plus £1,000. 1,000 becomes 10,000, and 10,000 became £100,000. "That's not fair," protested Frank. "How can £500 become £100,000? "Oh, I'm not a bank," snapped Mr. Big. "No, you just robbed them." "You cocky little so-and-so, aren't you?" "But £100,000, pleaded Dad. "I will never, ever have that sort of money." Mr. Big smiled a sinister smile. "Then you better keep working for me, hadn't you, until you've paid off your debt." "That's not fair," said Frank. "Mate, be quiet." "For how long?" "As long as I say so." "But what if I say no?" "Fingers? Thumbs?" At once the two henchmen sprang into action. Fingers grabbed Frank by looping his arm under the boy's, and he scooped him off the floor. "Get off me!" screamed the boy as he struggled to get away. "Get your filthy hands off my son!" shouted Dad. Thumbs kicked the man's wooden leg so hard that it collapsed under him, and Dad fell to the floor. Thud. "Dad!" shouted Frank. The poor man was lying on the floor, his body broken, but not his spirit. "If you do anything to hurt my son, I'll swear I'll—"
"You do what?"
asked Mr. Big mockingly. He trod on Dad's fingers. Crunch! "Ow!" Dad screamed. "Thams!" ordered Mr. Big.
"Do your worst with the boy."
Frank looked on in terror as the man drew back his humongous thumbs, ready to cause damage. The henchman pressed them hard into the boy's ears, and Frank felt like his brain was about to burst. "Ah!" he screamed. "Please," shouted Dad, "I'll do whatever you say. I'll do it. I'll do anything. Just leave my boy alone." Mr. Big smirked before finally saying, "It's enough, gentlemen." Fingers and thumbs put Frank down. After a moment more enjoying his power, Big took his feet off Dad's fingers. Still writhing in pain, Dad scrambled up onto his knee to hug his son, who was shaking with fear.
"I'm glad you've come round to my way of thinking, Gilbert," continued Mr. Big. "I will be in touch about the next job very soon."
Frank kneeled down to help Dad reattach his wooden leg. Suddenly, the boy spied one of the wads of cash lying by his feet. It must have fallen off Mr. Big's desk as the suitcase was emptied. There, in crisp £50 notes, was the answer to so many of his and his father's problems. When he thought no one was looking, Frank moved his left foot slowly forward to cover it. If he kept his nerve, he could craftily slide it out of the room.
"My master thanks you for your visit. Now it is time to leave,"
announced Chank. Frank kept his foot pressed to the floor as he and his father were shown out of the study. After a few spaces, Big barked, "Stop!" The pair did as they were told.
"Why are you walking funny?"
Who, me?" asked Frank innocently.
"Yes, you. We know why that crippled father of yours walks funny."
Unsurprisingly, the two goons laughed again at their boss's cruelty. "I'm not walking funny," replied Frank.
"We'll take a few steps then."
The boy did as he was told, dragging his left leg.
"What is under your foot?"
"Nothing," lied the boy. Mr. Big bristled. The boy was testing the man's patience.
"Thams!"
The brute knew what to do. He marched over to Frank, wrapped his arms around his chest, and lifted him off the ground. All eyes down at the bundle of cash rested. "Sorry, Dad," whispered Frank. Dad gave his son a supportive smile.
"It seems we have a thief amongst us,"
announced Mr. Big. Please, Mr. Big. Please, sir, have mercy on the boy." The crime boss waddled over to Frank and stared straight at him. And Frank took a deep breath. What was this nasty little man going to do now? The answer was a smile.
"Boy, I'm impressed. Very impressed. Stealing from Mr. Big himself, that takes guts. You should come and live in here with me and your mother."
Dad looked at his son, the fear blazing in his eyes. "Never!" shouted Frank.
"Never say never. Now think about it."
"I've thought about it. It's never."
"I could train you up."
"Come on, Dad," said Frank, tugging on his father's sleeve. "We have to go." Just as the pair had reached the study door, Mr. Big called after the boy.
"One day, all of this could be yours."
"I'd rather die."
"Well, That can be arranged, purred Mr. Pig. Frank and his father trudged through the wind and rain in silence until they found a train station. There they huddled together for warmth on a bench on the platform, waiting for the first cold, empty train to take them back into town. "Your mum does love you, you know," said Dad. Frank said nothing. All that had happened during the night had brought back the feelings of hurt and deepened them. "She never used to drink like that," said Dad. "It made me sad. Come on, I think we both need an huggle." The pair held on to each other until the train trundled into the station. By the time they'd reached their block of flats, dawn was breaking. With the lift and the block still out of order, they climbed the flights and flights of stairs. When Dad finally put the key in the front door, both were weary beyond words. As they entered the flat, the door to the living room opened. A figure appeared out of the shadows. Frank gripped onto his father in fear. "Oh, good morning, boys." It was only Auntie Flip. "Oh, good morning, Auntie Flip." Both he and his son had completely forgotten she was babysitting. "Sorry you were here all night. I saw you asleep when I got back and thought I'd leave you to it." "Oh, my word, look at the state of you," said the lady as she frantically started rubbing the dirt off their clothes with her hand. When the mud stains wouldn't budge, Flip did Frank's most hated thing of all. The lady took out her handkerchief and spat on it and began vigorously rubbing the mud off. Then she sniffed her handkerchief. "Mrs. Cowdung, where on earth have you been?" "Oh, we just popped out to get a pint of milk," said Dad. "Straight from the cow?" No, it came from Raj's shop," added the boy, hoping to make the lie sound a little bit more believable. "I think we must have stepped in a cowpat on the way back." "Is that so?" "Well, I could murder a cup of tea," said Auntie Flip. "Where is that milk?" "What milk?" said Dad. "The milk you bought." We took it back to the shop," said Frank. "Why?" "It was off," replied Dad. "We should have guessed," continued Frank. It was on special offer, you see, but I'm sure Raj could sell it as cheese." Flip looked at both of them quizzically. The lady knew something was up, but what exactly? She stuffed her handkerchief back up her sleeve and glanced at her watch. "Oh, dear, is that the time? Well, we better get going." "Where?" asked Dad. "Don't tell me you've both forgotten." Dad and Frank looked at each other. After the drama of the night, they had indeed forgotten. But what exactly had they forgotten? Sorry," said Frank. "Yes, we have actually forgotten." "Church, of course!" exclaimed Flip. "Oh, yes!" said Dad, trying to sound a little bit more exciting. "Happy Father's Day, Dad." Thanks, mate." Auntie Flip looked on with a proud smile. "Oh, beautiful! Oh, no threats. I have written a special Father's Day poem for you to read to the entire congregation." Father and son shared a pained look. Well, there we are. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next time. Thanks for listening and stay well. Bye-bye for now.